NZB yearling sales here in Christchurch, and I'm catching up with Katrina Price from Price Bloodstock. Firstly, welcome, Katrina.
Thank you very much, Paul. Lovely to have you over here.
It's good to be face to face. You and I have had numerous Zoom calls, so they're not quite Zoom calls, but the same sort of thing. It's actually good to be face to face. It's actually good to see so many people here at the sales, especially yesterday when the weather was fine. I think a lot of people got smart about today being a little bit wet, but it's great to have so many people here at the sales and a little bit of positivity around the place.
Yeah, like coming into the arena yesterday, I thought there was a nice buzz in the arena, and lots of people, which is always good in an auction. You need that, an auction feeds off energy, so I thought it had that yesterday.
Do you get nervous?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I won't lie. Yeah, no, I do. I haven't had too much sleep the last few nights. Actually, you caught me yesterday morning, and I was probably sitting there looking a bit sleepy, but the old adrenaline starts pumping.
I took a photo of you, actually. I think it was your first one. It wasn't the Colt. I don't think that made the 240. I think it was the first one you sent through, and you did have an anxious. You were thinking anyway. How does that sound?
Yeah. That's my resting face. Is probably an anxious one, but but we got the job done.
So it's two gone through yesterday. You got quite a few more today. You got another 3 or 4.
Yeah, we've got another 3 today. So yep. The Betters Colt and 2 Mackeys.
Overall, your thoughts on the sale and how it's been?
Look, I mean, obviously the trotting sale was disappointing, and that's a worry going forward. And there does seem to be this ongoing trend that the good horses sell for good money, and then there's just lesser opportunities and demand for those other ones, which is a wee bit surprising because the going horse market is very, very strong. So I think there's opportunities for trainers and owners who want to speculate. So we've got to do something about that. Is just trying to, make people aware of the opportunities that actually are out there.
A lot of people try to do deals afterwards too. That seems to be a common thing that gets said to me. We need to change that mentality because effectively they are in the ring for sale. And I don't know whether the mentality is, we can't buy them, or when they get past in, and then they say, we'll be able to get this one cheaper than what people are expecting. A lot of people set their reserves, around the horse and what they effectively owe them. It's not necessarily what the individual person thinks they're worth.
Yeah, I mean, we take the approach of, what is the price that, we will part with that horse, if it sells for that price, are we going to be happy that it sold for that price? And I guess that's the whole thing with an auction, isn't it, is that the vendor sets their price, the buyer has their price, and, where minds meet, it sells, and if they don't meet, then the horse doesn't get sold. Yeah.
You and I have spoken, we teased it actually in our last Southern Red promotion about maintaining the mares, and we're going to do something, and we'll do one probably in a couple of months, give you time to get facts and figures down. But these champion race mares that we have on both sides, like you guys lose them to Australia and then they go to America, and then all of a sudden then there's this like wastage, if you like, or lack of these horses, and we're losing these families. And it's quite interesting. You see these couple that have been kept here and the high demand that people have for them. It's quite unique how it works, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, here, people say, I have to sell it, the money was too good and things like that. But there is another option to keep these, good fillies. And, they do have a residual value. So we raced a filly mare called Democrat Party, and that particular crop, I think, is just a terrific example. So there was the Orange Agent, Fight for Glory, Her, Supersonic Miss, Katy Perry, Joanne's a Delight, and the list goes on and on. And when you actually have a look at now what those mares have produced, what they've put through the sales and, basically produced for their owners, and now what their progeny is actually doing on the racetrack is just phenomenal. And I think, just sort of highlighting that to people is that, the offer sounds great at the time, but you are selling the golden goose.
And that affects New Zealand harness racing, full stop. The guys here at NZB, you guys out the back and selling the horses, but then the racing product as well. So if those high horses, and the flow and effect of that is crowds. People want to see these good horses. Seeing Millwood Nike the other day in Cambridge, and she's not for sale and she's not going anywhere, which is super exciting for everyone. But people love seeing her, and although the Australians, I still don't think realise how good she actually is, Millwood Nike. I mean, to be able to go to the races and watch a high quality filly like that, and then the exciting part is she's looks like she's going to stay here in New Zealand, become a mum, and then, in about 4 or 5 years' time, hopefully some of her progeny go through the ring.
Well, that's right, and that's what New Zealand, that's my biggest worry for the New Zealand breeding industry, basically, is that we are basically selling our golden goose. The Australian sales catalogues and your racing product is getting stronger and stronger, and you only have to look back 1 or 2 generations in the pedigree, and generally there's a really nice New Zealand mare in there that's lifted things. So I think, that we've got to take stock over here, and, there's probably got to be a wee bit of short-term pain that you sacrifice some of these sales, hold on to these ones just to safeguard our product.
And effectively, you can make money out of it going forward as well. I mean, it's almost like you're not allowed to say that, we're going okay. We're actually making an earn out of these horses. That is the flip side of it is, when you sell it to sales, you can make money.
Well, that's the thing. I think everybody, horses are tough. And, as soon as you come out and label something, obviously, horses make great liars out of you. So everybody's reluctant to do it. But, it's not all bad luck stories. There are some really, really super stories and successful stories and things like that. I look like the Breckons up north, they've retained, they've kept their good fillies and put them into racing syndicates, kept them. And look at the rewards that they're now getting. And I think that's the thing is that, you do have to sacrifice, obviously, that short term, but there are long-term opportunities there.
And the flow-on effect of that is, as I said, it goes back to the racing. Also the fun that's been had at the sales. I've had a ball, and people say, how can you have a ball at a sales? But there are parties, there are fun, and people just genuinely having fun and enjoying each other's company, not in a competitive way because they're not racing each other. They just go there and enjoy it. I think some of you guys went out for tea last night. It can be done in a whole different ways. There is so much more to the sales and to the harness racing industry other than TAB turnover and what's going to win the next race.
Well, that's the thing. Look, everybody here is just full of hopes and dreams. It doesn't matter what they've paid for that horse going out the ring. It is going to be the champion. So I think you feel that here is that, just it's about celebrating our industry and the horses. And just when you look at the gorgeous horses that go through here, how can you not sort of, fall in love with it? And so I think, this is just, a sort of real time to celebrate, what's good about our sport, really.
And I love that part, and I want racing stables to take it up too. But Sarah, Dancing on Moonlight, much easier for me to say than Sarah's last name. Blues, there's blacks, Renwick, yourself with the orange, even what Shard Farm are doing, whereas just about all the guys that do the footwork are in the black, but Debbie and Mark are in that blue. The branding and getting brand awareness out, then it's almost like tribal colours, if you like, and I'm imagining you guys, yourself and John, would like someone eventually say, I'm going to take one of the orange horses home, not necessarily the orange agent. It's actually your colours, and that's, I think, something that's really unique. I think about the sale, and I wish it had roll over to the races, because I think it would actually be really cool.
Well, I think that what makes racing attractive, isn't it, is the colourful silks is one of the part of it. And so these are actually our racing colours. We are tangerine with blue, so that's where our colours come from. And so I think when you kind of are replicating what you see, the fluttering silks on race day is, and it all kind of adds to the pageantry and and just this is all about, making things as attractive as possible.
Price Bloodstock, you quite regularly have very high priced horses. You've had a couple of good sales over the previous couple of years, and an okay sale so far this year. You had one, as I said, for $240 yesterday. How much thought does go into your brood man band and potentially even future proofing yourself, if you like, for a better word, with the stallions that you select for these horses?
Look, it has been a long-term investment. Look, we came here probably 15 years ago for a start, for a few years, and I think we sold one, took 2, 3 home, very low prices, and we thought they were nice horses and that, but it gave us a really short, sharp shift as, just because you breed the horse, you get what you're given and you fall in love with it and everything else. The buyers do not have to buy any particular horse. They only have to buy what they like. So you've got to, as a breeder, got to get your head around that you are producing the product what other people want. So we did. We went home and then we came to the sales actually, and we bought a number of fillies. One of the first ones we bought was a mare called Chicago Blues. She was a nice race filly for us. First foal that she produced was Chicago Bull, and basically, that really gave us a foot in the door. from then on. And then we've bought other fillies and mares and just tried to diversify and upgrade our band basically.
And I think that's important, and I know you said there before about Breckens. We saw Mary Kenny, they purchased a high-priced filly. One, they want it to be a racehorse, but at the end of the day, they actually want it for their broodmare barn because that same thing. And I think it's important. You don't have to spend $300,000 like the Kennys did the other day. But these guys are successful. They've got a great band of mares, and they actually stop and they say, rightio, we've got to change it up so that we can keep being competitive. And again, it's almost like a dirty word. Then they make money because they sell the horses for good money in the sale ring because they're relevant and what people want. And it's something that yourself and John, it must have been hard to go home and say, what are we doing? And I would imagine you could probably said, well, we're not going to sell anymore and keep our own horses and race them, or go down the path that you guys have gone.
Yeah, look, we went through that phase where you get all personally, offended that people didn't like your horses and things like that. But then you've actually got to start thinking rationally and start thinking, business-like and, and then actually come up with a plan. Yeah, and you do actually have to then put the other hat on and go, well, if I was at the sales, would that be the horse that I would want to buy? So, you've got to start thinking of how you can actually produce the horses that, if you had the money to come along at the sales, that's the horse you want.
How many mares does Price Bloodstock have?
Up to 13 now. Yeah.
Trotters at all?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we have done over the last few years, is purchased a number of trotting mares and fillies. So we didn't have any in for the sales this year. So
going forward, the trotters are, because I know it's hard here, especially at Christchurch. The last couple of years, the trotters unfortunately haven't sold what people want. But in Australia, right at the minute, it's so positive with what they are doing with the trotters, and I'm hearing things that New Zealand are doing the same similar things. They've got plans at least to cater for races for some of these horses. They are a growth area of our sport, and that's one of the things. But I would imagine too, when yourself and John sit down and say, right, we're going to get into the trotters, and you come here last 2 years, you'd be thinking, have we done the right thing, or what are we doing?
Yeah, to be fair, we're sitting in that position right now. But I do and think trotting is global. And I think that's where, the opportunities and, hopefully if we can tap into that. There's just a few of the challenges, like we're basically dealing with just frozen semen. So, this year we served 4 of our trotting mares and only 1 got in foal. So, that's a challenge, whereas, 8 of the 9 pacing mares got in foal. Yeah.
Because they were fresh.
Yeah. So, there's a few challenges there.
Yeah, well, that's one thing. Maybe the authorities have to look at a way it may be. Could be anything from educating the vets to trying to help make it a bit cheaper by subsidising or things along those lines, so more people do it. And then the more people that do it, probably the more people that invest in frozen semen.
Yeah, although look, I think because trotting is global, that we're not going to get these stallions here just because there is that global demand for them. So we've got to come up with ways that we can increase our fertility over here dealing with frozen.
Price Bloodstock, I would imagine you're going to continue on, but are you going to get bigger?
No, we won't get bigger. Hopefully we'll get better, but no, I think, and it certainly won't be beyond 13 mares. Probably once again we need to go home and, there's sort of, we've sold a few mares over the last few years and we'll just continue to do that. And we've got a nice group of fillies coming through, ones that we've retained. So we've at the moment racing, we've got Advanced Party, so she's out of Denver, so she's a full sister to Republican Party. So she's Group 1 placed. We've got a nice trotting filly called the Ivy League. She's Group 1 placed. And then a couple sitting in the paddock ready to get broken in on Monday when we get home.
Keep you going. Do you guys race them when you race them? I mean, do you guys train them yourselves or do you give them to trainers?
Okay, we used to train them all, but we're sort of going away from that now and putting them out with trainers. And I think that's part of it too, is that you need to get your horses and with other trainers. And look, this whole industry is a merry-go-round. So honestly, what we get in that ring basically goes here, whether it's service fees, whether it's placing horses with other trainers and things like that. Yeah, I mean, it's just a merry-go-round. It
is indeed, but it's a lot of fun and a lot of people enjoy it. Katrina, I loved having the chat, and we are going to have a longer chat. It'll be via Zoom, but about some of these champion mares and what they are able to do and going forward. And we want to try and probably open up people's eyes. So I really do appreciate it. Good luck today. But thank you for joining me. I'm sure some people will be probably saying, they'll be watching it and they'll be like, right, and look at it. And there's so many young people in this sport, especially down there, and when I say that, girls that are preparing horses and doing terrific jobs, it's a great sport. We don't actually only have to grow it. We need to invest in it and get more and more people enjoying it. So that's why I love having a chat to you. Whenever I hit end on or stop on our recordings, you and I will talk for another half an hour, and I'm like, you're very bad for me that way. But I actually enjoy it, and I like the way that you do things. So I encourage people to look forward to the one going forward.
Yeah, and on that topic, that is probably one of the limiting factors is the number of people preparing. We need more preparers because increasingly we've got people who own mares who don't have their own land. There's been a whole change in land use, in New Zealand, so they can't do it themselves, and that is one of the big limiting factors, is that we do need more new people coming in, to prepare these horses, and people obviously, age and retire and, drop off too, so we need some people coming through at the end.
Anyone wants to know how to get into the industry too, that's a way of getting into it, or someone that's in it and not sure which way to go. Laura Smith does not even have a stud name or a farm name or nothing, and she can't keep up and is doing an amazing job, and she's knocking horses back already, and she's not advertising and she's not doing anything. So the opportunities are, it is hard work, but it is seasonal, if you like, so you'll have downtime, pull your socks up, have a crack, and you can, produce something, you'll get paid to do it, but also then be able to enjoy it once they go through, and you never know where you'll end up.
Well, that's the thing, and it is very rewarding, and I love following the horses when they're sold, and so you get all that satisfaction as well. And as I said, if you're someone who's prepared to work hard, obviously you have some horsemanship and that, and just an eye for detail, I think, is the big thing, and you're prepared to be honest with people and straight up, I think is one of the key things as well.
Probably also a little bit like yourself and John, go back and be honest with yourself. And learn from that as well. That as we say with these preparers, if you're a young preparer and you may not have sold that well for this sale, don't necessarily take it upon yourself. Maybe go and ask some of the smarter people, why did people not buy this horse? And it might be as simple that you've got the wrong breeds for people, and you go from there. Or it could be you had them too fat or too skinny and things along those lines. Be prepared to open your eyes up and ask a question.
Oh, exactly. But look, the other thing is that breeding is a lottery, and you do not always get the perfect horse. So I think you've got to, but if you are a seller that you're going to sell everything, then you've just got to be realistic with your expectations and say, look, this isn't the perfect horse, but it doesn't mean that it can't go on and be a good horse, but with your reserve, and you just have to be there. And, that's what happens. You don't always get, and that's what makes it so rewarding, that is when you do get that article, and like the fella that we had through the ring yesterday, it's they don't come along every year. So you have to appreciate them.
And you do, and I saw the look on John's face when he was going through the ring. It was like the horse, he's waiting for a trotter to score up behind a mobile. He was almost biting his lip, like he's in. Once you walked into the ring, it must be different. Probably you're like the driver of a horse. You're parading it. You're in the moment, whereas John's just sitting there standing and waiting, seeing if someone puts a hand up. He's probably watching everyone thinking, someone put your hand up, someone put your hand up. And so it is a great experience. Katrina, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. This is a different interview to what I've been doing over here, but it's one we want people to start thinking about the industry and how we can make it better. Look forward to the chat. Probably the way I'm looking at my calendar, it could be May, June, but we'll have some amazing stats that will probably open a lot of people's eyes to how much these racing product mares are as compared to sending them over to the US and then losing them from our shores forever.
I better get in and buy some before I price them up.
Thank you very much, Katrina.
Cheers, Stroll.